Calio Production is a faith-based production company that promotes inspirational forms of entertainment through media, stage plays, and television. Their message is simple: spread the gospel of Jesus Christ through innovative, thought-provoking, and inspirational means through artistic forms. I'm really pleased to say that joining me to talk about the latest production is the executive producer, author, and the playwright, Dr. Elaine Brown Spencer. Let me just turn your mic on and say hello, hello, hello. Bear with me one moment. Let me just go. You unmute yourself. Dr.
There we
Elaine, how
go.
you doing?
I'm great.
It's so
I'm
good to
great.
talk.
Thanks
So
for
good to
having.
talk. So good to talk to you. I've been hearing a lot about you, and
Good.
I now get to talk to you as well, which is fantastic. So welcome to the show. Now you've written 3 books, 10 plays, and numerous short films, musical soundtracks, and DVDs. Now, where did this passion come from?
You know, it's a good question. I just want to say from the Lord, um, I fell into this and just one thing just led to the other. I'm a church girl. I'm a church girl. And I grew up in the church and I grew up in a musical church. May I add that? Where, choir music was a big thing. I mean, from little tots growing up in church all the way up, three-part heart. I have a feeling that that kind of was deeply lodged in me, just waiting to come out. And also, I'm from a family of we all played piano. So that could be the musical part, maybe, and in 2010 I just had my third child not too long. She was like 18 months and I just got catapulted in this journey of writing, and then the book got turned into a play. And I'm a sociologist. I don't know nothing about theater. I don't know nothing about the fine arts
Oh,
at
wow.
all. And when I say the Lord can teach us, he can teach us.
That's
And
incredible.
that he did. My first work was a book called Private Pain in Public Pews, and that got actually adapted into 4 stage plays that I did. One of which did come to London back in 2016, Melody of Deception.
Yes,
So
I didn't see it, but I do recall it.
yes, yes. And so yeah, and I just have a passion for connecting with um people who are often overlooked in the church, if I can say it like that. Persons that may not be the pastor, the evangelist, but they just might be that pew member who they're faithful, coming to church, and they have stories to tell. And and not only that, the opposite to that is that a lot of times, as I wrote in my book, Private Pain, we look to our leaders almost like they're some mystical beings, right? And we kind of create this thing in the churches where even if they need support or help, it's almost like they know they it's hard for them to do that. And even in terms of if there's a failure, right? Because we're just expected for them to be like up here and no fault. And so I've kind of always have those type of themes in my writing to let people understand and know we are all just human, just trying to make it in, as the songwriter would say. And in this journey, in terms of the journey of making heaven our home, we have bumps, we have hills, we have
Yeah.
valleys, and we have to know that we're human, but God cares. He can restore, he can redeem. And I find it in the Black community often, in order to speak about some of our challenges, sometimes you got to put it on a stage. Sometimes you got to add a little bit of humor, add some song to it, and then they get it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so that's what I do.
Now there's a saying that or statement that you've made, I believe, which says that you want to spread healing through the arts.
Yeah.
How do
That's
you, how do you best describe that? What does that even look like?
you see, healing when the Lord connected with the woman at the well, right? And he had such unorthodox ways of connecting with people who were hurt, for people who needed his touch. And so whatever mechanism that is, right? I just believe that God's hand could be extended. And coming out of the Black experience, the arts is not it was also used in times of torture and pain, where where the songs, the Negro spirituals, what do you think that was? That's music coming out of deep, deep pain. And the music was very healing because it was hope. And so the way I write is to show the challenge or the pain or the failure, but always turning it vertical, that look what God can do. And so the arts for me is a way and a mechanism that I pray that God can use to connect for people. If you're going through that and you see that on stage, you're leaving healed, or you're on that roadway to, do what you have to do to be made whole. And that's what he said, will you be made whole? And I just believe that it's just a mental gift. And I just believe that it's not just entertainment, as much as it is, right? It's very much entertainment. But that's just my motto. Just want to spread it. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a humor, something. And that's what we're trying to do. So
So
you're
would you,
muted.
so yeah, I mean that's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful what you're saying there. I mean, has it always been plain sailing for you? I mean, if not, what challenges do you think that you faced along the way?
You want me to talk from today till 10 years ago?
Just, I mean, if there's something that's pretty prominent that comes to mind, I mean, you've been on this journey, you've been really successful in what you've done, but maybe there's something along the way when where maybe you thought, I don't know if this is going to work. I mean,
Oh, oh,
give us an example of that and how you overcame that. That'd be really good to hear.
yeah. It's tough work because there's so many moving pieces. And when the Lord spoke to me in 2010 to put the book into a play, I didn't understand what that was, because I when I did it the first time, 800 people showed up at my first play, and I didn't understand what was. I was just like so overwhelmed. And then I was just going to do one play. That was it, right? Back in 2011. And then, oh my goodness. And then I think everyone thought it was Hollywood after that. A lot of demands. I want this, I want that. And I just got very saddened by that, because that's not what I was trying to do. And it got so bad that I just got tremendously discouraged. And I asked the Lord, release me, release me of this. Because I did what you asked me to do. I did this play, I've done this. And I remember going to work the day and I was profoundly saddened and I was crying and I was worshiping. It was like a morning devotional. I was just on my way, I was walking. I'm like, Lord, release me. And I just looked up, I was looking up to the heavens, please, Lord. I've done, this is how I was going on. Lord Jesus, I'm worshiping and I'm, Lord, release me of this. I've done what you've asked me to do, because it was too much. All the different people. And like I mentioned earlier, and I just took a tour, a detour to work that day for some odd reason. I'm walking, I'm worshiping, I'm asking him, and then my eyes went down on the pavement. This was a very pivotal moment where my ministry in playwriting and everything took a turn. I looked on the sidewalk as I'm asking the Lord to release me. And do you guys have like graffiti in the UK or spray
Yeah,
paint?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I mean, this is a very corporate area, so you don't see graffiti there. And on the sidewalk that I'm passing over, I see two words: think big.
Wow.
Literally arrested me. I was just like, God, are you serious? And I just looked up and I'm like, okay. In other words, he was just like, you're looking to yourself. You're just looking small. You're thinking small. Forget all of that. think big. And I got healing that day from what my purpose was. Because I went deeper. I thought about this guy, this or woman, this person with a spray paint can that wrote these two words because God's daughter was going to come on that street one day. That's how I looked at all of it, how I unraveled it, right?
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
tapped
yeah.
that person to come and spoil the sidewalk with these two words so that I can get my breakthrough. And so it's financially challenging because I don't receive any grants or sponsors. It's 100% funded by my husband and I. And so it's 100% reliant on ticket sales. And I'm telling you, I've had successful shows and I've had disastrous shows. Shows where I know 100% someone would say, I'm packing it up. Yeah. But when you know that you know that you know what the Lord has called you to do, you gotta just stick with it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta just believe God. And that's just all that we're doing. And so it's always an uphill battle. But when somebody after a show comes and says, you know what, this really helped me, or I was blessed by that, I always feel like that's the reward that that you made a difference in someone's life. As cliche, and I'm speaking from my heart. This is not to be like super spiritual. I honestly believe that, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and all the ups, the downs that, I just think it comes with the territory. It really does in ministry. But you got to know who you serve.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Most powerful. That's powerful.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
your productions have been seen in the US and Canada in
Yes.
particular, and your latest production is about to hit the shores of the UK.
Right.
It's called The Preacher. Come on now.
You're like, come on now.
Come on now. What can you tell us about it without spoiling and giving us any spoilers? What can you just give us a
Spoil
flavor?
it. Yeah. We also went to Jamaica, by the way, with the preacher. The preacher is about the story of the first family of a church and what many people around the world, especially in can I say Black churches, are dealing with succession because similar to the UK, in Canada, we had a big immigration influx from the Caribbean. Us was like the 50s, 60s. I think you're as early as the 40s. And a lot of those churches had the same leader, and they're all aging. And so a lot of churches are dealing with who are they going to pass on the baton to? Who's going to take over? And in that transition, we've seen some good. And so, yeah. And so Pastor Johnson in The Preacher has gotten some pretty tough news that he has to give up the mantle now and he has to choose the next person. And as the story goes, we think it's this, it's that, and Pastor Johnson has to choose, and everyone knows who it's gonna be. So we think. And so there's other stories. There's the whole old school versus the new school, like how the younger wants the changes to happen in the church. We have stories of love in unexpected places that you're going to. It's so beautiful, but it's funny. It's quite funny. We have the church ushers that are they're the eye telling you everything that they see going on. You see, the ushers in churches are one of those roles, like as I said earlier, I like those inconspicuous people. They lead people in, they take the offering, but they see a lot. And so there's some church ushers and the preacher that kind of give us some insight into what's going on, and that's like the comedic relief. And so there's a lot of things, layers of activity that's going on in the preacher that most people can relate to. And so Pastor Johnson is this very strong pastor, very set in his ways, but is going through a very tough time in terms of accepting that he's no longer going to be able to be a preacher because of this news that he has and stuff like that. And so you have to come and see. You'll be glued to your seat, I believe, as previous audiences have told me, because it's so relatable. But the message of it as well is let God do the choosing. There are
Okay, yeah.
elements of humanity that has to, but God, if God is not in it, it's disaster.
Yeah. It no, a great message there. And who would you say the production will appeal to?
It's so interesting because when I wrote it, I had certain things in my head, like who it would, but it's turned into the opposite. For an example, pastor's nephew, Darius, is this young guy. He's always going up to uncle about what he wants to see. And it's been so shocking that so many of the young people are connecting to this play through that medium, just
Okay.
watching and it's not like he's a great character in terms of doing things for the Lord. You know what I mean? So it's appealing to the younger ones because of that role of Darius, way up to the seasoned saints, as we would call in the church. But also people that don't know anything about the church who's very intrigued by preacher? What is that? You know what I mean? I remember in New York, we had a couple who was just visiting there and they saw our show was on and they just came and they're nowhere from the church. And after they were just like how much they loved it. And so it's appealable if I can put it that way,
Yeah,
right?
no, that's
Not
brilliant.
just the church. Yeah,
No, that's
yeah.
good. That's good. So it's two nights in the UK. We've got one in Birmingham and one in London. What's the best way for listeners to get tickets? Is it through the webpage?
So the website has tickets for our Birmingham show.
Okay.
And so if you're in, I believe you guys call it the Midlands, is that
The
right?
Midlands, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Or Birmingham, and obviously Birmingham, you can get the tickets to the Cannon Street Memorial Church show, which is the show on the Saturday. Just go to cleoproduction.com and you'll see it right there. Now, if you're in London, that show on Sunday, February 18th will be at the Broadway Theatre. And that's in Catford or Lewisham. Catford,
I believe, yes, I believe it is. I've got it here
yes,
somewhere. Let me have a quick
Catford,
look.
Lewisham.
In
And I
Catford,
believe
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, and you go right to their website, thebroadway.org.uk, and you can get tickets right there. And yeah, they're selling fast. It looks like everyone in the UK realizes that the show is next week and everyone's starting to go there. Producers have to love this kind of, because you're wondering, is anyone going to come to this show? But yes, they 100% are. Broadway, the Broadway Theater, right on their website. Just scroll down what's on. You'll see the preacher. Just click on that and you can grab your tickets there. We're super excited. I can't
Brilliant.
wait.
Brilliant. Well, we so look forward to seeing you, and maybe it'd be great to get some feedback as well. But I really wish you well. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Really looking forward to hearing more and seeing the production myself as well. So God bless you. And yeah,
Awesome.
all the very best from us here.
And thank you so much for having me. And it was a wonderful interview. God bless you.